Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of Casting Conflicts here. Got a great match lined up for you today. Before we go into that, of course, we're going to recap what happened in the last one as Alan was victorious over Jump as it pushes him higher into the playoffs and pushes Jump a little bit lower here. Unfortunate because I did think Jump would have been a little higher on our leaderboard, but hey, he still got some time to kind of bounce back into those playoffs here as we get later down the line. But today we've got a great match, as I just mentioned, as one of the defending undefeated players, DeathsAdvocate, at a clean 3-0, will go up against Triple J, who's had a bit of a weird season and comes back with a bit of a weird deck here. But to help me on this little excursion here, Tweakin unfortunately had to take a bit of another sick day, not sick, but internet problems. But instead, we've got the returning debuting player from about 2 episodes ago. We've got KFC in the booth. How we doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Red?
I'm doing alright here, and we've got a very interesting match ahead as DA's Rakanoth, the classic green-red swarm, takes on the amalgamation that Jay produced for us here. And I mean, honestly, how are you feeling about this matchup here? Looking at both decks, knowing both players. I mean, looking at the percentages, because obviously you are a bit of a newer player to our roster. But I mean, how are you feeling about this matchup on paper?
As much as I'd love to root for JJJ and his interesting deck choices, I think I'm going to have to give heavy advantage to DA in this matchup. I think he's proven with his list that he is a very, very dominant force in the league so far, and I think JJJ is going to find it difficult to take the match away from him. Yeah,
certainly more so considering my personal style of deck building. Like, I look at Jay's list, right, and I get, angry sometimes. Just because there's so many weird scenario-based cards I feel like you would never see on ladder. Like, you never kind of see that mentality run more competitively, but yet here he is. He's doing it here. And while he's picked up some games, picked up a set, you can see it's costed him heavily in the season here. Losing about 5 of those games, losing 2 of the sets here, putting himself in a weird position. So I do have to kind of agree with you and think DA's got a better position here. And I'm excited to see what he's able to do in this set. But, I mean, with that being said, we have a game to get to. We've got match number 1. You ready to get into it?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go ahead, folks. Match number 1 coming at you right now. All right, folks, and back to the battlefield we go for match number 1. Not a bad start for Jay. Going to swap away the armory. Not too bad. Picks up the lumberjack, and it's going to be a spicy start for Jay. Should be all good. In the meantime, what are we expecting at least? The idea for DA's deck, obviously, he wants to set up this swarm. He wants to get that going. That's usually how how most of his games have gone this past season here. So do you think he's going to be able to do that today?
I think it heavily depends on the draws that JJJ gets. I think if DA manages to stabilize early and get out some buildings early on, I feel like he'll be able to create an unstoppable swarm. And as long as he plays carefully around Lightning Blade, he should have a fun time this match.
Which has just popped into Jay's hand, and there's the Rat Hovel set up right in the prime L-Blade position. Already off to a shaky start here. And that Reclaim. Yeah. We don't usually talk about Reclaim because it doesn't really pop in here, but that could do some dirty things also. Take away a global buff like an Armory or a Spawner like an Altar or a Hovel. But there is the Bolt, so probably going to see a Reclaim maybe on that Hovel, which, yeah, he's aiming for it. He wants it. Wants the Hovel. And he's been an advocate for it too. Just a lot of dirty Reclaim advocation, just telling everyone to play it. I don't, but it is what it is.
I feel like it's a bit of an underrated card, but it can also be more harm than it is good in some situations. Yeah. Especially if you're looking at later on in the game and a Mordock potentially getting free value from it.
Yeah, Mordock, Craxus, a lot of combo pieces that can just easily chip away at whatever you have reclaimed, getting that free value from it, whether it's draw, unit, etc. here. Although Reaper going to waste no time allowing Jay to have that Hovel. He'll pop it with a Shaman draw. Get back a card for that Shaman here, and it seems like he's going to try and stabilize here. Jay going to pass with a simple Temple of the 5 Gods in the back here, not really able to push a unit, although he has books sitting in hand, which could come out next turn here. So we're going to see Vampire.
I think this is...
Yep, go ahead.
I think this game's going to be heavily based on how well DA plays around Chain Lightning. I think it might be the make or break of the match.
Yeah,
Oh,
I would
nice.
certainly say so, but we'll see how that goes here. Oh, and
And
oh,
the
the
classic
visual.
Steam bug.
Yeah, I mean, he can fix this one though. It's not too messy.
Hmm.
Yep, there we go. We
Yeah,
fix ourselves. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. As we're now going to see the vampire connect to face there, dealing that 4 damage here, getting the first blood of the match, if you will, first blood of the set. As we're just going to continue to push up here, the shaman and the rat for turn here, leaving Jay without some draws for turn. Going to put him in a pretty bad spot. Ugh.
he might have to play the lightning blade here, which would be not what he's looking for. Yeah, he
Yeah,
will.
he doesn't want to, but he has to just to kind of throw this vampire off his face here. He gets castle
That's
healing, and that's not what he
Mm,
wants. No, he
no,
wants that
it's not looking good
cleric.
for him.
He wants to keep units alive, and with that heal going to castle, a lot more difficult to do so. Reaper can put in the shaman if he wants to. Whether he prioritizes the body over the castle health is to be seen. Although I would take the unit here, seeing how
Yeah,
Jay
that's what I
is
would have
low on
done.
cards. It's just free advantage at that point.
Was it quite a devastating Dragon's Fire to get rid of his 2 draw options?
Of course, leaving him with just a monk, a second temple, and Drake. Not the worst, but it could be a lot better. Could be in a lot better position. And now we can see DA's deck start to fire off here, getting the
Getting out the
spawner
blade.
buffs. Yep, and this is just going to churn out for the rest of the game here. Mordok is a great pull, though.
Very good.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. So that's going to probably threaten both the buildings in the back here. And Reaper, unless he's got like double blue fire, has no real way to clear this at least. Nope, never mind.
Mark.
I spoke too soon. It's the caster's curse. It's the literal caster's
It
curse.
is.
So there's the execution hitting the board here. Going to be immense value for Reaper. And even gets to set up an additional Faithful Drake for turn. That's going to, again, start to threaten the face here. And this is just going to get real ugly for Jay real quick.
He's going to need a very good draw here. I'm not sure Taris is what he was looking for.
No, Taris can get him more draws, but that depends on if he can keep this guy around, which, knowing DA's deck and the colors that he runs, it's going to be... it's suspicious if that's going to be the case, if he leaves it. Faithful connects to face here for 3, so again, kind of just chipping away where he can. Very good. Oh, no.
Oh, the Rakanoth.
Oh,
I think that might be
no.
the end.
I
Does
mean,
he go face?
I think he does here, because, I mean, knowing what's in
Yeah.
his hand from our perspective, the Monk Temple is not enough to clean up the Rakanoth. He needs a very big pull here that isn't Atarius. Oh! Alright. Arbiters is kind of a decent pull. It doesn't really clear the Rakanoth, but it can weaken the rest of the board here as he goes and shoots for the Armory. He did need that to kind of help stable himself out a little bit. I mean, get some castle health, weaken the rest of the units. It's not going to do too much in the grand scheme of things, because now DA can just, reset the Armory and go to town again. Almost negating that Arbiter heal. It's going to be disgusting stuff. But take out the temple.
I would have thought going face there.
Yeah, no. I mean, I guess he wants to solidify the board that he's got, make it harder for Jay to kind of remove the rest of the threats here. And I mean, that's just DA's playstyle, excuse me. Very calculated. Wherever he can take out the options to really just secure his victory even further. There's the Taurus that I said he wasn't supposed to draw. I
think he's in
will
trouble
this
here.
into existence. Yeah, Tarius, what else do you do? The monk to hit the zombie. Yep, and just pray there isn't another racket in that hand. But I think this is going to be DA's game. Fantastic showing from him in game number 1 here, and I mean his deck functioned like it wanted to. And I mean that Dragon's Fire, absolutely devastating stuff. I don't know if I think you said it best yourself. Absolutely disgusting, and that's gonna really be what secures this game for him.
I think the waste of the lightning blade earlier has cost JJJ a lot. Not necessarily a waste, but he was forced to use it to trade into the vampire, and it's basically removed any chance of him ever clearing the armory in the back.
Oh, and speaking of Dragon's Fire,
oh, again, brutal.
Yeah, a second one hits the board here. Absolutely disgusting. Now Jay is just going to have to take all this damage and pray he can find another Arbiter, I guess. But even then, the bodies that are on the board are just multiplying. It's harder and harder for him to deal with this, and he's going to get overwhelmed. He is just going to. Ugh, I don't see any way that. I mean, do you see any way that he can recover from this game, or is that okay?
Absolutely.
I,
You can waste our time a bit more, maybe.
I mean, Pillar's a good one. Not only does
It is a good draw.
it not only freezes the units, but it also blocks the Faithful Drake for a turn here. He'll set up the temple because, I mean, he has to. He doesn't want to waste the gold in future turns. We're approaching sudden death here. Yeah, I don't. Do we have lethal
I
now?
don't see a way out of this.
No, I don't think we have lethal now though.
No.
Unless we. Actually, no, another Rakanoth would have done it, but do we have it? As we're just
Maybe?
moving all of our things.
You would have played it already.
Well, I mean, not Jay. DA does like to move around all of his stuff first, but the Acolyte, yeah, signifies that Rack is not in the hand. Draw another pillar would be pretty funny. No.
Oh,
No.
the third Tarius.
The third
Unfortunate.
Tarius. Yeah, I mean, you can't even play it. You just got to surrender the match at that point, and that is going to be game number 1. A very strong and emphatic victory for DeathsAdvocate as he continues his fantastic season. But what a game. What a game. I think we do have to take a look at that match, though. So before we get into match number 2, as always, let's go ahead and get to the post-match to see how game number 1 went down. Alright, folks, and welcome back. Game number 1 in the books here, and DA taking a pretty clean victory, for being honest here. A lot of great things for him and worked well in that matchup, and I think it just shows why he's been so dominant here, why he earned that 7-1 game record here inside of our league here. I mean, KFC, we saw some great things, right? I mean, from the books burn, incredible, cutting off Jay's resources, to I think another point that you had, right?
Yeah, I think DA didn't give JJJ much of a chance for the whole game. I think JJJ had to burn a lot of his tools early. Didn't give him much of a chance to come back. He had to use a lightning blade to trade into a vampire instead of possibly getting more value from the chain, which I feel like hurt him greatly in the early game.
Right, and then on top of that, I think he was just unable to clear the Rakanoth at the end there. And even if, when Jay pulled his things like Freezing Pillar, I don't know if he had a Mordok that game. I might have been misremembering that. But, I mean, the point is, just absolutely nothing that Jay can do. As you mentioned, he burned through all of his cards, and without getting that book draw or any sort of additional draw throughout the matchup here, you see it just really hurt him. It really did. So, I mean, game number 1 looks strong for DA. Moving into game number 2, DA has the set point here. Will he take this set to remain undefeated, or will Jay fire back in game number 2? Only one way to find out. Let's go ahead and jump to that match right now. Alright, folks, in game number 2, we are back. We are live. Not really live. We're not on Twitch. But anyway, we are, of course, going to see Jay take out the red-blue, the funny Raka party, as we saw in the deck selection, going up against DA's classical red-green undead stuff. And this should be an interesting match. Both are slower decks here. Who do you think we're going to give the advantage to, though, when we're looking at just the overall game?
I think in this match that JJJ has a lot more answers to DA's form than he did in the last game.
Things like the blue Firebolt.
For example, yes. I think that given decent draw, I think JJJ should have the edge here, especially if he manages to pull off his Raka Party combo, but we shall see.
I mean, he's got a great start right now. I mean, the perfect 1-2-3 curve. He can fear back maybe an early unit from Reaper, Faithful in turn 2 to assert some board presence, and then either Explorer to increase that presence, or Blue Fire to remove any sort of threats here. Reaper did pass the turn, though, so Fear not going to be as useful. That's fine, though. We'll wait to use the Fear, and hopefully next turn set up the Faithful Drake here as Hovel hits the board.
Hovel.
Much like the start to last game.
He coin? He does.
He will coin into the blue Firebolt. Quite aggressive in removing that early spawner, I guess, because he knows Reaper might not be carrying all the spawners in hand. If he can get rid of one of the spawners, the better, I guess. Just makes sense.
I do wonder what he was thinking about turn 1.
Who, Reaper?
Yeah. Who knows what he's got in his hand. It is classic Reaper, to be fair.
It's classic sort of DA, methodical, time crunching, calculating all the options here. And that's just
probably
like the
thinking
player he
about...
is.
Yeah, it's probably thinking about turn 5 already, maybe. You never know.
Right, and speaking of, well, I mean, turn 5 is still a way to go, but turn 3, of course, obviously, we are bound to see a play, most likely. I mean, turn 3, a very crucial turn in this game. In any sort of matchup here, you want to at least have something on the board by turn 3. So we'll see if Reaper can respond, fire a shot back, hopefully. Maybe stick one to Jay and put up another spawner, but he doesn't.
He passes.
Passes the turn, which is concerning here, especially now that allows Jay to set up the Arctic Explorer to kind of push in for some chip damage here early on. Maybe even get a cheeky freezing pillar down if Reaper throws out something too aggressively or maybe too much off to the side here. He can maybe capitalize on freezing pillar Arctic Explorer draw. Ooh, there's a fear though. Okay, so we'll push back the Arctic Explorer for now, following up with a Dagger Storm. So I guess spell options might have been in Reaper's hand this entire time.
Yeah.
Looks to be the
Probably
case.
Mm.
Ooh, alright. Darkbender. Big boy. It makes sense, though. Makes sense if we're going to go Darkbender. I mean, chunky range unit, always a pain in the ass to see when it hits the board. No one's a fan.
Going to be painful to remove at least until he has a Merc Execution, maybe.
Yeah, give it another
Who
2
knows?
turns or so, I would imagine here. But we're running into Vampire now on the other side of things. I don't think this could be super impactful, to be honest. We're going to lose Arctic Explorer thanks to the bleed, so that's really not the issue that we're going to have here. But what do we do with the Vampire? How are we going to even do anything to race the Darkbender at this point? Unless you, I mean, we have maybe spell removal, but feels like we can't do much at this point for DA.
I feel like his best chance is maybe to consolidate. Who knows if maybe if he has buildings in his hand, he could be trying to place them away from castle to avoid a lightning blade. But it's looking quite good for JJJ right now, I think.
Yeah, Jay's got definitely, I think, the board control at this particular moment. And then also being able to kind of control it even further with potential freezing options. We just saw him draw the Yenaroth for turn. That could be disgusting to see turn 9. We do have the pillar as well to work with, so if things get too scary on Jay's side, he can just plop pillar down and say, hold on, I need a timeout here, so we'll see if that comes into play here. Has not used that fear yet, by the way. Fear is still in the hand after all.
I feel like it's much more effective used early. It's a good cycling tool in the early game.
Certainly. Also, I mean, positions for chain, which I think is why he's holding it, especially since we're in blue. It makes sense to why we're going to hold that for now. But still, I mean, shame that it's still here. I mean, especially since DA did use his fear. I think I'm picking at straws, though, as we did see the blue fireball hit the wizard, cleaning that off the map. And then pass back. Yeah, I'm kind of concerned here. It seems like just DA just doesn't have options at this particular moment here.
I'm gonna sack.
Sacking away. Oh, we get an additional draw from Shaman, which we are going to take here. I think at this point, Jay is now using this Darkbender to just assert some draw for himself.
Yeah.
Picking
A lot
up
of
the
control
tools
on
for
the board
Racket
he
Party.
has.
Yeah. Picking up the
Maybe
tools.
DA. Yeah, there's the muck.
So we did have it. Now you can start utilizing this Vampire a bit more here, although we'll see if we can run into a Bolt or a Freezing Pillar. We are going to hit the Bolt. That's going to remove the Vampire from the game here. Not going to waste the Pillar just yet here. Following up with the Lumberjack and the Sack on top of that. So 3 more cards coming into Jay's hand for the turn. Ooh, and not bad pickups. Not bad at all.
Looking good for him.
I think we have like a, turn 8 Mordok, turn 9 Yenaroth, turn 10 Double Keeper if we're feeling that greedy here. Ooh, alright. But now we're going to see the Vampire Necromancer combination come out thanks to the Mercenary Execution ramp. That's going to mean Mordok isn't as valuable to play here.
Are we going to see a fear potentially?
We might. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see one. I mean, it would keep us off of the Mordok, but we could just easily throw maybe a Keeper out to at least get some kind of board going. It would make sense here. Oh, yeah, Keeper Faithful. Keeper Faithful seems like the correct play here. You get that big boy up, you get him to block. Maybe even threaten that Necromancer, which he's not going to. Going to be a little more conservative here, holding back his forces. But still getting them out nonetheless, and that is good. We do push away the Vampire as well. We'll see if DA repeats the same play, though. I would imagine he can probably... if he puts that Vampire back up, he leaves himself open to Freezing Pillar, and I think maybe he's considering that. Shaman for turn, getting some additional cards in hand. Very nice. Ooh, yeah, and there's a dirty pillar setup. Oh, no. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like Pillar Explorer or Pillar Keeper next turn here, because I mean that's just too good to pass up.
Definitely.
And on top of that, I mean I guess we can get Keeper a little more aggressive, but I don't really feel like it's gonna be too impactful here. Necromancer gonna run away in the back there. All right, are we gonna see? Oh, a second
Mm,
Vampire. So if that lines up where Necromancer was, we're gonna have immense freezing pillar value for Jay. If he pushes it down, though, it'd be a different story. And he does push it down away from that freeze. So he's got a little bit more options to use for his next turn here. I assume Jay is still going to take the pillar. Freezing off 3 units could be incredibly spicy here. Or if he just goes for the Yenaroth approach and says no board for anyone and just run the Yenaroth down, I could see that as an option as well here. I mean, what would you play here, Yenaroth or the pillar?
I think I'd play Yenneroth here, but we're gonna see what he does.
Yeah, I mean, I think Yenaroth is just that much scarier. Freezes off everything and launches a big 6/8 body towards face, which, I mean, Jay's deck can, or not Jay's, Reaper's deck can push it back with fear, maybe even remove it with execution here, but still, I do think Yenaroth is the correct play. I can probably agree with you on that one here. Faithful setting up in front of the Vampire. Keeper going to retreat back. So potentially setting up for Yenaroth here.
I think we are gonna see Yenneroth here.
Yeah, we do push the Keeper away and back. And then, yep, there you go. Come on. Come on, big boy.
I was thinking about it.
Hit the board. You got the
There
timer.
we
Just
go.
hit the board. Yeah, there it is. So Yenneroth does hit the board. I'm going to freeze everything off for a moment here and threaten 6 damage towards face, which is pretty big. It's a big chunk here.
I wonder if an argument can be made for trading with the vampires. It depends if he's. It depends on how threatened he's filled by the vampires, or if he think he's safer to get the 6 damage to face.
Well, we are in Rakanoth territory now, moving into turn 10 here, so very well that he could have one in hand, and even though the vampires are frozen, they could be sacked off to generate that Rakanoth, which can then move around and do some extra damage here. Rakanoth would be a great trade against that first Yenaroth on the board now, but it would leave that Rakanoth to be feeling pretty wasted and open to maybe getting killed off by, like, a Mordok maybe. Generate a free unit off of that too. So, I mean, there's arguments as to why we play the Rakanoth here and why we don't. I don't think it's a good idea to play the Rakanoth. I'm not sure if you have any other feelings about that.
I don't think it would be worthwhile to play Rakanoth. I'm interested into seeing what he has in hand here. The blue fire.
So blue
Does he have double
fire.
blue fire?
Yeah.
Double blue fire.
So debating on whether or not to pull off that double blue fire. It is the case here. Even a Dagger Storm spread as well to kind of knock down some of these units, which...
Oh.
Ooh, well, there's piece number 2 of the combo. Rack Party slowly building up here as we now have a War Party. We do have a Dragon in Yenaroth to sack for said Rakanoths. But now we're just going to play the Yenaroth Part 2 Electric Boogaloo and hope that we don't die. Or don't lose that said Yenaroth. It'd be a big shame if that were to be the case, but we'll have to see.
Considering he had to burn double blue fire to remove the last one, DA should be in trouble. Oh.
No, he did have the Rakanoth. So Rakanoth does hit the board here. If he goes... he does remove. Yep. And in a decent spot, too, so where Mordok can still probably take it out, but at that point trade with it and not be as effective. It's going to force Jay to respond with a Keeper instead of the Mordok here to generate himself another undead unit here. He can play the Horseman as well for turn. It doesn't really reveal too much. It does connect to the Necromancer. Alright, seems fine.
Not bad if he follows up with the Dragon's Fire.
Oh yeah, that's right. Putting that Necromancer inside of the Dragonfire range here. I guess in that regard, you're looking at the Vampire and hoping that that connects on that, but... Nope, we got a Dragon's Fire of our own over on DA's side. That's going to be pretty nasty as that leads to a board clear here, and the Vampire begins to threaten face. I think we're considering potentially doing Explore Pillar for turn here on Jay's side, just to kind of stall out a bit here. I mean, the Mordok doesn't really block all too well for Vampire, and that does put himself in a not-so-great position if he just leaves that open.
I think we will end up seeing the Pillar here. Obviously, DA being low on cards, the Wall Party is going to bring a lot more value to JJJ. But if I think he might be waiting for the Rakanoth in order to play it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this deck is all about, popping the multiple Rakas off the War Party in the same turn, just having the multiple 8 bombs landing on face, being absolutely devastating and potentially a game ender. As we approach sudden death, it could be very possible that we're going to draw into that combination of cards, though, as we're going to see Reaper pick up the 2 for turn here, grab himself an Armory, which he'll play for turn. Fantastic. Not doing a whole lot, but, I mean, it's here. It's great, I guess.
Does he have removal for the pillar?
Trades the Lumberjack, giving Jay more opportunities to draw. Picks up a Yenaroth, part
Ooh.
3. Has the Lumberjack as well. That's not enough to remove the pillar, though. I think his units were just out of position to properly deal with that pillar. So this is going to allow Jay to possibly sneak in here. Possibly?
A lot of things he could end up doing in this turn.
Yeah, I mean, if he's feeling threatened, he can eat, Yenaroth for the turn and pass it back. Maybe a Mordok here to just maybe do a little bit of additional cleanup. Maybe get rid of the Shaman, pop something else, maybe.
Second War Party.
No, it's not what he wants
Is there
to
an
see.
argument for playing a War Party early? If he doesn't discard Yena or either of the Mordocs, it could be seen as a good play.
I think it's too risky now to play the War
Yeah.
Party. I think he's safer just using the Mordok, kind of seeing what he gets, maybe doing a little bit of damage control against DA's units here, slapping Castle where he can, which is, of course, right here with the Arc Explorer, to just kind of close the game sooner, close the door, force DA to, in a losing position sooner. But, yeah, no, there isn't really an argument to play War Party, especially since there's a lot of stuff that you don't want to discard in this hand. The Dragon's Fire, the double Mordok, the Yenaroth, all, big pieces that can be used properly. But if discarded by the War Party, it'd be an absolute waste.
I think he has the time here to wait around for the draw that he's looking for, and he should be able to use it to close out the game.
Yeah, I think
DA's in.
Yeah, no, I think Jay's definitely got this one. Oh, and there's the Raka.
There it is.
There's one. I think he wants to make it more impactful, though, and go for 2. He plays the Inspire now just to get way to generate some discard fodder, if you will. He does play the Questing Knight, though, to kind of set up to remove the Vampire, but drawing into the Scout just so he has a potential War Party discard fodder, Not the end of the world if you lose a Scout, right?
No, not in the least bit. He probably won't end up playing the Shaman either. Ooh, free Mordok value.
I mean, he could play them with the War Party. Free Shamans, free draw, free Rakanoths in that same War Party. So that becomes more of just a gamble at that point. Does he play the War Party just to draw into the rest of his Rakas, which he then, goes off and I think maybe seals the game with, if we're being honest.
I think it would be the end.
So let's see.
I don't think he's going to use... Does it come out this turn? I think it comes out this turn.
Oh, he discards one of those Shamans. He has to play the Yenaroth first to establish the board freeze. I think that's the most important. You don't want to play Yenaroth after you freeze off the board here. And then I think he follows up with the Shamans. Or at least one of the Shaman. Or the only Shaman, excuse me. Good setting up the Mordok here, getting that close to Castle. He does fire Rakanoth, and I think that's going to be game because the sudden death in combination with the Raka Bomb is just enough to close out the game here. And of course, though, he's going to try and draw out the rest of it. Going to play out all the units, I guess, just to flex. Thank you, Jay. No one needs to see this, but that's how the game goes. And yeah, that will be a win for Raka Party. Pretty disgusting, but I mean, that's just me. I'm not a huge fan of Party, but I think he still played the game great nonetheless here. I don't know if you're feeling the same way.
I think he did play very well.
Certainly, certainly. So, with that being said, folks, we do have to move into a game 3 now as both men are up a game. We'll see how match number 3 goes after we break down match number 2. Alright, folks, and welcome back. Game number 2 in the books here, and Jay walking away with the win. Of course, Raka Party making itself felt here in our little league. As, he did well. He did what he needed to do with the deck, and overall just played a phenomenal game with it. Burning off that hovel early, controlling the board with Darkbender, forcing DA to actually maybe pass a few turns off of that because of it. And I think he just did a very clean job of things here. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, KFC, but I mean, it just felt like this was just Jay's game to win.
I think DA must have felt very restricted in what he could have done throughout the match. JJJ had a lot of control and also a considerably bigger hand for most of the game, leading up to him whilst not playing the true Racker party, dumping 3 Rackers on their face, but playing the combo and ending out in the end.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets you the win, it gets you the win, right? So,
It does.
with that being said, though, folks, it does push us to a game 3, so we jump into that. DA's undefeated streak on the line as we get into our next game. Let's go ahead, jump to that right now. All right, folks, and game number 3 now underway. Of course, Jay going back to the game 1 deck, the one that got burned off pretty heavily. On the opposite side, we've got the green-white from Reaper, and I think I have the idea of what he might be going for, in which case it might be his... I think it was named the artillery deck. Obviously just range units, abusing scope, abusing rampage, things like Doom Ship coming out. Even Troll Gunner, I think, is in this deck. So it'll be an interesting matchup. A lot of off-meta type cards being thrown on the board here. So with that in mind, KFC, who do you think has the edge here?
I think I'm going to give the edge to JJJ here. I think he's got a relatively strong hand right now, and I think he has... I think it depends on whether or not he finds the tools to deal with the ranged units.
I mean, the Paladin certainly doesn't help with that, and the Cleric coming out now. Not the best. I think he needs his Freezing Pillars. I think in this match where range is a strong focus, if that is the case out of DA's deck, then something like Freezing Pillar, Cloak of Ice, the Yenneroth in hand are going to be absolutely crucial at just stopping the range plays and getting them to the point where your units can then charge in to remove those threats here. Things like the Doom Ship, which we're now seeing hit the board. That's going to make an appearance. Favorite card, by the way. Love to see that hit the board.
I don't see it often, if I'm being honest, on ladder.
It's a shame.
It is quite intimidating when first played, and then half the time it doesn't do anything. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I mean, I could go into a rant about how I've just been with Doom Ship for years now, but that'll take away from the matchup here as we go ahead, toss it back to Jay for his turn. Plays an Armory, which is fine. Doesn't really, well, it does help eliminate the Ramrus here, but that's about it. He's forced to make that trade and just pass it back, seeing as how he had the bleed. If he didn't do anything with that Cleric, it would have just died anyway. We're going to see the Doom Ship move up in response here, and a Spiny coming out. Spiny plus Bestial, or just Spiny? Looks like just Spiny, so we connect to the Armory for turn. Kind of curious as to why the fast and heavy aggro approach here from Reaper. I mean, we're seeing his hand has only got 2 cards left to work with. Spiny played just bare on the Armory there. Do you think he's worried about something to be playing, this sporadically?
I think maybe he has an idea that given if the game is allowed to go on, that he's eventually is just going to lose to the power of the late game of Crusaders and Vikings. Maybe he feels the need to try and close out the game quickly. But I think he could play for time, wait for his scope draw maybe. Maybe he could potentially just have a poor hand and feel the need to try and cycle through his deck quickly, but we'll see.
Probably. I mean, it doesn't really feel good to especially see the Spiny just played on the Armory for, just that turn. Didn't really feel like that was impactful. The calls, though, now those are a different story. Those can be very big here for Reaper, as those big 7-8 bodies are going to be able to trade with a lot of these smaller bodies from Jay. Ones that even buffed by Armory aren't really going to be enough to... you need at least 2 units from Jay to at least kill off 1 Ranger from Reaper. So, going to be a great equalizer here moving into the mid to late game, excuse me.
I do wonder what DA does have in hand here. I wonder if he has an answer into the... Even with this...
Yeah, this is
I think he's in quite a poor position already.
This is the problem that we're running into with Doom Ship.
Hasn't done anything yet. It's been there.
It sits there, yes, but now the problem is, in a normal case where you can run away a Wizard or a Darkbender up or down, that one movement really limits Doom Ship to only being able to move 1 up, 1 down, and still in the range of this Monk here, or the Dwarven Paladin up if you go up, and the Priest if you go down. So it's just a situation of like, do you have the tools to protect the Doom ship now, or do you just let it die? Which it might actually just let it die here. I mean, knowing the L-Blade in hand, we're going to definitely see that make a huge impact at this turn.
100%.
Paladin grabbing the L-Blade here. That will connect to the Ranger. That does kill it. I would say he's going to probably, yep, play it like that. Yep, perfect. And then the Monk can even just remove the Doom ship. And now this is a huge problem.
DA obviously has the second Ranger, but can be traded in quite nicely by JJJ. What else is DA going to have here to try and stabilize and maybe take board control? I don't really know what he could have.
Dagger
Maybe
Storm.
I wonder if he runs Liana.
I think he might have one copy. I don't remember. I have to look back at the list here in the post game. But yeah, something like Leanna. Or okay, Mordock. Mordock is a fair equalizer actually, considering that we're gonna get some additional bodies out here. Ooh, and the book hit as well.
Where does he trade here?
As much as either has to be the Paladin or the books or Paladin or books. Books to eliminate the draw, or Paladin to just remove that big damage. I think he's just lining up for the Priest.
Yeah.
Yep, he is lining up for the Priest. So that's going to force Jay to interact with this Mordock in some way, especially since there's no freeze or additional methods out of hand to deal with that Mordock. Tarius coming back here in hand. Hello, friend. Why are you here again?
Gonna be played. I can't say that I'm a particular fan of Tarius myself.
Ooh, and a big Wraith pull.
Ooh, big Wraith.
Big Wraith. I think that's the thing that Jay wanted to see the least. If obviously this thing can do a bit more cleanup than something like a Horseman or a Banshee can. So we'll see if that is the case here. I do like the Tarius play, though, here, just because it is going to refill Jay's hand a bit more. We see that this deck does kind of like to extend as far as it can for, each turn. Ooh. Ooh! The Bestial Rage Mordock for turn. That's not what he wants to pull, but not bad
Not
either.
as good as it could have been. Where does he go here?
I think he actually has to push that. Yeah, Wraith goes into the Dwarven Paladin. I think he just sits a Banshee tapping the Tarius. Yeah, because he wants to remove that as soon as possible. I would say the Banshees aren't the worst thing, though. Obviously, I mean, best would have been a double Wraith summon, but Mordock in hand. That's going to come out.
Dream.
Hitting the board, that's going to reveal the Wraith.
And another Wraith.
He's debating on running it down, but I think, yeah, removing the Banshee here is good. You need to kind of clean these up so that way you can protect your Tarius, protect your draw, and giving DA some not so great spells. Ship of the Damned is neat, minor upgrade. Ugh.
Less so.
Less so, yeah.
Dagger Storm?
Okay, one does land on the Mordock, but I think that thing could still deliver a punch to castle by the end of this. So we're going to see...
He is running out of options here.
Yeah.
If we saw another Mordock draw from JJJ, I think that's pretty much game at that point. And the double Yeneroth kind of extinguishes any chance of him being able to overwhelm JJJ.
Yeah.
I think he's got this one in the bag at this point.
The Range Mordock was probably the closest thing we saw to it, or the Rage Mordock, but yeah, because of that second Mordock pull from Jay, obviously that evaporated real quickly here. We're going to see the second Ranger finally make an appearance now from that called for aid. Positioned in a way that we can't really worry about Mordock connecting to it, nor can the Wraith, but yeah, not a very impactful turn from Reaper, obviously. Oh no.
Oh dear.
And yeah, this is where it can get really ugly here. I think he's going to opt to play Pillar over the Yeneroth just to control his units a bit more, have that freedom to move where he wants to. And then probably play the Faithful Drake as well. Or the Monk. Okay.
Or both. I just go in.
He does go both. I think Monk was looking to land maybe on Mordock, so that way we can keep it for another turn or two. At least force an interaction to happen there. But yeah, this is ugly board state for Reaper to be looking at right now, especially with his deck combination and deck theme. It doesn't really do well with just having this kind of pressure on you, especially when you have nothing to throw at him. Obviously for turn here, that's probably going to go into, okay, the pillar, so free little gold gain there. It's great, but it's not going to solve the issue of big units on face. What else could we possibly see here, though, is my question.
Might just be the end.
You think so?
I think so. I don't think DA has... Yeah, I think this is over.
8 gold, 4 cards in the Pirate Druid.
I don't know what we could see here that would save DA.
Onslaught onto the Mordock?
Ship of the Damned.
Yeah, there's ship.
Oh, trades into the Mordor.
And trades into the Wraith as well, so we're going to remove the Wraith here. I would have liked to have that captain be kept maybe... Actually, I get why he played it there to avoid chain, but yeah, now this is going to allow 7 damage from the Drake and the Banshee to come in and hit face, and then maybe he can additionally set up with something like a Yarm or Yenoroth. I think maybe more so the Yarm.
Does he ever just Arbiters and then next turn Arbiters lethal?
I mean, I guess...
Would it? I think his victory's pretty much guaranteed. Oh.
Nope, gonna go for the Monk here, removing the Faithful Drake. Yeah, okay, this makes sense. So that way, next turn, Arbiter is the removal here, and then you can even just... actually, I don't
like that play, actually.
The Yenoroth, I think, was unnecessary here, especially since you've now frozen your own unit. You're not going to be able to move them on your turn. You either have to remove the Ranger next turn, or pass back, which is giving DA some room to breathe here. And with Companions, uh-oh. Can get a little scary. So, Centaur 1 coming from the hand here. I would like to see some kind of additional block for DA, especially knowing that Arm does not have, or J does not have Temple in hand, or Temple or L-Blade, or what do we call it? One of the 2 cards, right?
Yeah.
Another Mordock for turn here. That's not really going to be enough to actually remove the Ranger, unfortunately. So yeah, the Yenoroth ending up costing Jay here a little bit. It doesn't really provide him with enough to, or at least the Yenoroth on board not big enough to trade with the Ranger. We're going to see a Captain play here. Unfortunately, trading because of that repost damage. Funny stuff. And the Mordock into that Centaur here. Eliminates the Hovel, which is a great little snipe from it. And of course, threatening that Horseman to end the game here. Although we know Arbiter is going to be the game ender.
Definitely. He's even, well, nothing. I can't think of a single 2-card combination that wouldn't mean the end of the game next turn with JJJ's hand. I think DA's, the idea of DA's deck, I don't think it came to... Oh, glitch again. I don't think it came together in the end.
Oh, funny number glitch to end us off here as the Armory takedown from the Centaur clears a couple things off the board. It's still not enough though, unfortunately. Yeah, we can trade in. Do we have anything for the Monk and to body block? Oh god, it's Doomship.
Oh, it's Doomship.
Oh,
not what he was looking for.
No, especially with Ignition. I think what he's going to do is just Monk hit Ignition for the funny win, because that's still lethal on board over the Arbiter since you took no castle damage.
Actually, he's definitely looking at it.
I think he took 1 from sudden death, but still, I think it's going to be Ignition, Monk, funny slap at the end of the game. Unless he's just going to play out the hand, right? Unless he's going to play Arbiter.
The OT ticket meant he couldn't play the Monk hit. Oh.
Nope, plays Ignition and
he
then
plays Ignition anyway, why not?
Of course, it's 0 gold. It makes sense. So yeah, that was quite a matchup and a surprising outcome to say nonetheless, because that will be DA's first set loss here for the season.
I do think that he may have made a mistake switching decks there. I think he was better off sticking with his either. I just don't think it was the right deck for the match. I think he maybe if he's got the scope on board, perhaps maybe the deck came together a bit more, but.
Unfortunately, it just didn't happen as the outcome showed here. It'll be interesting to see how the post-match looks, so let's go ahead and take a look at that right now. All right, folks, and coming in after game number 3, needless to say, a little disappointing that we end up seeing another undefeated streak broken as DA drops the set to Jay here. But looking at what he ran and how that match went, you kind of can't really be surprised by it, unfortunately. It just felt like the matchup was way too rough on DA's side here. I don't know if he wanted to try and force a little bit more early aggression, but I don't think this was the deck to do it, and we saw that a lot based on what we saw in the matchup.
I think here that JJJ, the multiple Morlocks hitting the board, as well as his constant global presence throughout the game, I think it was enough to fend off DA's attempts at early aggression. One of the weakest plays I think we saw in the match was DA sending the Spiny into the armory, not even managing to kill it.
Yeah, just kind of a naked Spiny looking to maybe get in some damage, and by that point I had a feeling that it wasn't going to go well for DA, but you know, my suspicions just became confirmed as we got later into the matchup here. We did see that great Rage Morlock from DA in the late game, but as soon as, you know, Jay drew into his, I knew, like, you know, you could just tell it wasn't going to go well. He cleaned up that Morlock here, you know, redirected the pressure, and it just fell apart for DA from there here. But I mean, overall, a solid set from both players here, and hopefully, I think this will push Jay up a little bit higher on the leaderboard here. I'm not sure. We're gonna have to check the standings, but yeah, overall, a great set indeed here. I mean, do you have anything else on the set, KFC, or is that gonna do it for you?
I was hopeful for DA. I was hoping that he could turn it around with the Morlock, but I don't think he got the pulls from the Morlock that he was looking for, and JJJ's board presence was just too strong.
Yeah, board presence, even running the one copy of the Fortify and Reclaim, which I'm not going to harp on. Anyway, with that being said, folks, we are going to close out this set here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let's go ahead and take you to our leaderboard here, where we're going to show you how this match affects our standings.